Okay, this video's, I'm not doing any moves or anything right now. This is completely, well, not completely, but I'm at that stage right now where it's just stare at the map stage. Basically, I'm trying to figure out what the heck to do with the Russians. And the biggie for me here is this, the reality is that the 10th Army's, I can't do anything to help them. I just can't. There's no way. Everybody's too far away, and maybe if this was the Germans that were surrounded and the Russians were surrounding them, maybe I would have a better chance of being able to rail some people in. But that's just not the case. The Russians just are too far away, and excuse me. This is an awesome. I don't know what you would call it, a learning experience yet again. How flippin' naive I am that I stuck my neck, the Russians stuck their neck out so far away, and I'm just absolutely amazed. Even with the Germans not being able to utilize this rail because it hasn't been converted yet, they were still able to pounce so fast. It just blows me away. And to think this all was due to way back when, just with the German Expeditionary Force, Jeff, to start to convert rail to Łódź just for later, much later, for when they started getting ready for like a two-pronged isolation, or a siege, or whatever the heck you want to call it, with Warsaw. And I mentioned this before in a previous video about with me playing opponents, especially with miniatures. I get distracted so easily, and all that happened from the Russian perspective was they just brought in a rinky-dink little force, and how did I react as the Russian player? I overreacted. I threw an entire I threw an army headquarters over to Łódź with some troops, and I also sent a supply train independently, and they got there, they weren't able to logistically like hook up and utilize the supply. They got caught with their pants down, and this is entirely my fault. Yet again, like I said, because of the distraction. I did write some notes, and hopefully I put them off to the side, but I wanted to, I'll have to alter the thing here, but I'll talk about this in a second. I did a comparison of the amount of cavalry divisions, infantry, artillery, and engineers for Tannenberg, Galicia, and then the Gorlitsa, Tarnov scenarios to see the differences. And it is because I was like, okay, am I being like crazy when I look over at on my kitchen map with the game with Ken, and it's just like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And I'm like, no, actually, it's good that you can say what the hell is going on, because there is a lot of hell going on there. And you'll see later on in a minute. But what did I do with my other sheet? I wrote down a nice little, oh, here it is. I had some little notes that I wanted to remind myself of what the heck has been going on. And I didn't really know where to put, well, I think this is the main thing to talk about, really. Excuse me. But I also wanted to look, which I found a bit ironic, was I was looking at the dates in history at around this time in 1914, and it is the exact opposite of what was going on in my game. But I think neat that there is some stuff going around in Łódź. So let's see here, on the 25th of October, Germans in full retreat in Poland. And October 27th, Poland's Russian victory along the line of Petrokov-Radom. So just around here, I'll have to look around, but obviously the Russians are doing pretty darn good at that time of the whatever. And also it says on the also on the 27th, the Russians recover Łódź, and in Galicia the Austrians were defeated at the Sambor, which is, it's hard to find because of the scale of the map here and whatnot. I went on my big giant atlas I have upstairs. I think I found where the Sambor is. I'll show it to you later, but I think it's that river that kind of feeds in to the Dniester just south of Przemyśl, I think. Anyway, so I guess around this time, yeah, so this is just, I just find this fascinating that it's like, we're in that area, but it's not really going the way it is at that point. Also, I did want to talk, which I find this happens often with freaking Sun Tzu's daily quotes. How fitting the quote is, excuse me, for what a situation that's going on with the game. So I've run out of my 75 random quotes. So what I've done is I have an abridged version of his book, and it's got like each book or each section like on stratagem or whatever. So I'm going sequentially every day. Anyways, and so today's was in part 3, attack by stratagem, and it says Sun Tzu said, "In the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact, to shatter and destroy. To shatter and destroy, it is not so good. So too, it is better to recapture an army entire than to destroy it, to capture a regiment, a detachment, or a company entire than to destroy them." And look what's flipping happening here. And yet again, a few turns ago, also with the Katowice conference there, where the Germans decided, hey, let's start trying to figure out a way of cutting off the lines of communication sequentially on the armies and isolating them and bang, 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 and not have to even fire a shot sometimes. And it's just like, I'm like, oh my God, cool. Also, I was talking about why I don't think it's going to be, okay. And this is the way I'm going to do, I know I've mentioned this about the rail capacity and in training, the way I'm doing it. And I like my version of it, and I don't know if it's the official and whatever. Like I said, playing against somebody else, you never hear a peep from me. So right now there is 7 entrained units for the Russians. So if they all move in my universe, that's 70% of the rail capacity gone. And the way I'm doing it right now in my world is, excuse me, if you want to entrain every single freaking unit in your army in one turn, go right ahead. That's fine. But as soon as you start moving things, that's where it goes wonky. As well as if I had, for example, let's say an entrained unit here, and I never intended to move this entrained unit. And let's say this was German, excuse me, because we're talking single track here. So let's say a German single track rail here. I've got an entrained unit here. I don't ever intend to move it. And I bring an entrained unit railing across. Now they've used up 2. That's the way I excuse me, I gotta grab some water. So anyways, that's the way I'm viewing it. So you gotta be careful in my little entrainment rail capacity universe. I like it. What else did I? Oh yeah, I wanted to look up to find out what in the heck, what was the historical commander like for the 10th Army, and could I, maybe glean a bit of information, some ideas of how he would react to what in the hell is going on right now in my world. His name was Vasily, I think, Pflug. It's Pflug. I think it's pronounced Pflug. And I wanted to find out about how a little bit about this guy. Holy cow, man! This guy lived to 95, died in 1955 in the United States. I think he was part of the Russian White Movement after all the crazy brouhaha, and ended up in exile somewhere. I can't remember where, and then zipped off to. Yeah, he's led a colorful life. That's for bloody sure. I just don't see how. Like I said, there's just no one. I can't get anybody here, even with You know what was so amazing? When I saw the reinforcements pop up, my first thought, you should see how many there are, man. I'm not kidding. This is what the Russians are getting this turn. All I thought was, well, the first thought in my head was, guess who's coming to dinner? Because it is a ton. They've got, jeepers, jumping, man. Like dog fest out there. So in Grodno, they've got the 13th Reserve Siberian, the 14th Reserve Siberian Divisions, and the 4th Don Cossack Division showing up. Plus, they have an additional 9 strength points in 3 different replacement infantry division units popping up. That's massive! But guess what? If you want to start riddling all those little buggers all over the place, it's gonna, you know, with the Russians, it's just gonna eat up the capacity so much. Anyways, I'm sorry. Like, I've just gotta, and what do they call it? The good money after bad or whatever it is thing. I think I'm just gonna have to realize that that's just gonna be a massive amount of demoralization points. The Russian side's gonna have to accept. I'm going to have to realize this is a lesson that you don't do this. You don't have this massive amount, especially in this type of game where this movement is just, there's, as well as maybe if you're going to do that the next time, for crying out loud, maybe do some divisional breakdown and have some brigades just to, you know, have some zones of control, because that was a disaster waiting to happen. Yeah, I just jumped in, like, I gifted them beyond belief. I threw the Russians into the frying pan. It was just amazing. What else though? Oh, as I'm realizing as this game, because I'm so envious of people that if they are or have, when they first started playing this game and they were like, you know what, let's link up the Schlieffen plan with Tannenberg and Galicia and maybe even Serbia. Holy moly. Because let's be honest, the most read about and known about part of the war, I would say, is, you know, the opening few months. I mean, you know, and then there's, you know, battle-oriented stuff after that. But, I mean, come on. That's, I would say, for the most part, for a lot of reasons. Jeez Louise, man. Because that must be just a... Wow, you would be getting so much. Because right now, anyways, I'm getting to the end of the game, and I'm like, I want to, like, and like I said, you know, the tides are turning so much. The Russians are just going to, I think, the Germans are finally clicking. I mean, the Central Powers have finally got their act together properly, as far as I'm concerned. Even with the stumblingness of the Russians at the beginning, they're just, in a way, I would say, relying so much on just the sheer volume of their troops. It's just nuts. But the tides are turning, and I would love to know how that would have went. So and then I realized, wait a minute, you can have your cake and eat it too there, Chris, because you're Mr. Meticulous Record Keeping. So, and with the journals of, you know, the narratives and all the little stories. So I've got something I could jump back to if I do want to, months from now, year from now, whatever, right? I mean, it'd be like visiting an old friend and continuing on. I think that'd be pretty cool. So I'm glad about that. Is there anything else I needed to talk about? Except I did want to talk about the comparisons of the scenarios, and it's just mind-boggling. And sorry, it's not a spreadsheet thing. It was just something I did very quickly, and hopefully I'll try to zoom out. There we go. And I think that'll be good. I'll try to rest it so I don't have to... Let's see. I'll do it like that. Oh, I hope this is working. Maybe, hold on. I'm going to reduce the... Yeah, I think that'll help. Just give me a second or two here. I'm going to... That's what I wanted to do. I just didn't expect it to happen so quick. Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. What happened to my computer? Did it reboot? That's not a good sign. What happened there? That's the refurbished computer, and I'm like, I don't want to see you rebooting for no apparent reason. I don't remember you doing that. I was just listening to music, for crying out loud. What the hell's going on, man? Alrighty. So, oh yeah, Mr. Meticulous with your record keeping. Who gives a crap if you move a counter or two, right? Okay, so I've got to just move it up a little bit so we don't get the Star Wars effect. Uh-oh, I better hurry up. I may have to stop it and actually do the other thing. I think that's a good idea.